asked to graph the function f of x, which is another way of saying y, but we're splitting it up so that y equals one thing when x is less than 0, and it looks like another thing when x is greater than 0. So we've got two pieces to graph. So we'll start with the first piece in blue, and we're going to divide up our graph at, what should I use? Should I use red or orangey red? And we're dividing it up at the 0 for x. So that's right on the y-axis where x equals 0. So on the side where x is less than or equal to 0, we're going to have negative x. Let me change colors. In blue, negative x minus 2. Okay, that's what our y values are going to be whenever x is starting at 0 and moving towards negative infinity, right? And on the other side, y is going to be x squared minus 2 for strictly greater than 0. So for values of x that are 0 towards positive infinity. Right, so let's do the first piece. That's a line that has a y-intercept of negative 2 and a slope of negative 1. So I'm going to go down 1 and over 1. It has to go downhill. But notice that if I start going down 1 and over 1, I'm moving towards values into the region where values of x are not less than or equal to 0. But I can also move from negative 2, I can also move up 1 and backwards 1, up 1 and backwards 1. That still gives me a slope of negative 1. Right? And since I only want values that are less than or equal to 0 for x, I'm going to get rid of this side of things. And I will keep the dot right there on the axis because it says that we are doing it for x equals 0, including it. So that's what that looks like. So it's a nice closed circle, I guess you could say closed dot, not an open circle. And it looks like that. Let me do a better line. Okay, so purple part. The purple part is a parabola. It has x squared with a positive in front of it, a positive 1 in front of it, which means that it's a happy parabola. And really t-table and try starting with like x equals 0, then 0 squared is 0 minus 2 is negative 2. And then if you go to x equals negative 1, you'll get negative 1 squared is positive 1 minus 2 is negative 1. If I do positive 1 for x, that's 1 squared minus 2, which is negative 1. If I do negative 2, that's negative 2 squared, which is 4 minus 2 is 2. If I do positive 2, same thing, 2 squared minus 2 is also 2. And so it'll probably continue on in this way. It will definitely continue on in this way, actually. And we would have had an open circle here since we're not including, we're doing strictly greater than 0 values. However, that circle has been filled in already with the blue portion because it's being included for here and they actually meet. So this hole gets filled in by the blue. But the purple would have started with an open circle, and then I'm going to do, try to make my parabola here. So for 0, I have negative 2. For negative 1 for x, I get negative 1 for y. For positive 1 for x, I also get negative 1 for y. And also notice that the purple is coming over to the side where we're not supposed to be for the purple, so I'm not going to make those points. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of all of the stuff that has x values that are not greater than 0. So that would mean all of these. Okay, so I would have to keep going down. So like for 3, let me use purple. 3, I would have 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. Okay, so I've got 1 and negative 1 right here. 2 and positive 2 right here. And 3 and positive 7 here. So I can see the shape of my parabola, which it would have looked like it would have had these symmetric points, and it would have looked like a skinny U shape. A nice rounded curve there. But because we are doing this only for x values that are greater than 0,